Hi, I'm Bryce.
And I'm Jimmy.
We are telecom and creative professionals. We're also fans of podcasting as our respective careers give us an abundance of windshield time.
While there is a podcast for just about any obscure topic you can think of, there was no regular podcast pertaining to Montana politics.
And that is why, with our combined powers, we are Montana Voices Podcast.
We strive to be an independent voice for all issues pertaining to Montanans and Montana politics.
We also strive to be very forthcoming with our personal biases as we attempt to see beyond them.
Montana Voices Podcast does not operate in a vacuum. We need your support, whether that be listening to our cast, providing us feedback, sending us conversation topics, sharing our content, or providing financial support.
We look forward to a long career in podcasting with your added assistance.
You know, when I talk and then when you pick up, but that's just a result of not being right on with timing, so...
Well, geez, that gives people the suspicion that maybe one of us is not in Montana at that point. Can't be having any of that.
Nope, the area I like to call non-Tana. Nowhere around here. So let's go ahead and run through here. We have a, of course, recap. We call the last one Snow Day. What do we call this one?
Oh, geez. Well, you know, the snow continues here.
Not here. It's we got up to 17 here today, and it was sort of balmy. The sun was shining. It felt great. We went out for a day, walk hike thing, and then turned back after we got too cold. It turns out we need snowshoes. There's about 3 foot of snow or so. So just enough that's difficult to walk through when you sink to the bottom.
Oh, well, good for you. Must have been nice having all that warm weather and sunshine there. We had our, I think, record-breaking night last night. I think it dropped to like negative 32 or something.
Was it record-breaking, or was it just close to the record? Or was that the snowfall I'm thinking
I think close to the record overall, but it was certainly it was the coldest it's gotten this far this winter. So, you know.
How's the Cobalt running? Still starting up good?
Yeah, she fired. I had a little bit of trouble there back on, it was Monday with some misfiring, but then I gave it a shot again there at the end of the day after I let it sit at the house for a while, and she fired up, and she's been doing all right since then. So at the end of the week, though, we got like kind of a bad snow flurry here, and when I went to go home, I kind of cascaded right into my usual parking spot there that was filled up with snow. So tomorrow morning I will probably have to do a lot of shoveling out in order to get my vehicle out. So I'm not looking forward to that.
You got a long driveway. You can just Leroy Jenkins it, right?
I can. I just have to I have to dig out enough of a path that I can get some momentum. So, yeah.
So I had to dig my Mercedes out. That's a Mercedes diesel. I parked it on the street, and I think yeah, what am I doing? But parked it on the street, and before the real big cold snap, I got it started, and then walked back to the house to get food things, and it's a diesel. It needs to warm up for a bit, and it doesn't care. But by the time I had come back out to it, like 5-10 minutes, the plow would come by, and it was under 3 foot of snow, and it's like, well, I guess this wasn't meant to be. So, which is probably for the best, because I actually went back out, and this time took a little bit more to start it. I had to run an inverter off of my truck and warm it up for a good hour or so, and then got it out. But apparently that was a mistake, because I hit something in the road, and now my muffler is dragging, so, and not connected to anything.
Oh man, if it's not one thing, it's the other.
Yeah, I should have just left it. It could have saved myself all this trouble, but I was dedicated. I was very dedicated to get it done, because people think you need a 4-wheel drive in this weather, and you don't. You've got a car, a simple 2-wheel drive, and I've got a rear-wheel drive Mercedes, and I got around just fine, except for hitting things.
Indeed. And on that note, I'm on a gravel road here, unplowed for the most part. I think they finally came through and did it this week, but up until then, they have not. So
I've been relying. Does one of your neighbors have a plow on his truck that he runs around, or
he used to, but I think he moved. So there was another guy who had a plow on the front of his dune buggy thing, but he didn't have that down even. He just kept running up and down the road in it, just like flattening out the snow with his tires. And so I've been relying on others to do that on the weekends so that Monday morning when I go to leave, it's, smooth sailing for me potentially and hopefully.
Hopefully, or work from home tomorrow. See how it goes. But
Indeed.
it's only a problem for a couple weeks out of the year. You'll be fine.
Yeah, well, that's why the beauty of the internet is it gives us that ability for some jobs,
Jobs. Well, let's go right into our recap here.
Indeed.
And the last episode, Snow Day, or whatever we called it, we discussed raw milk, and it looks like that's going to remain illegal, as both bills have been tabled. So that's going nowhere. You still cannot drink your own raw milk and cannot sell it. Or...
Oh, geez. Cue Rage Against the Machine as I milk this cow.
Hey, take my milk from my cold, dead hands, which are cold and dead if you're out milking cows, very likely. So,
in this weather, absolutely. It can be an irritated cow, too. You're trying to milk it in the middle of winter like this.
Do you milk cows in winter? I'm not even sure.
I assume you bring them into the barn first? I don't think...
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back to my childhood when that was a...
Well, you lived on a farm,
that we had to do.
I didn't have to do that shit when I was a kid.
Yeah, I don't ever recall not milking cows, so it probably happened.
Well, don't let anyone question your Montana roots here. You straight up were on a farm there in that case.
Straight up, and sort of a thing here. This is not in the thing, and sort of a thing. We had my wife also grew up on a farm, but a very different kind of farm. It would be one of those horse farms, which is different than a ranch farm where actual ranching happens.
Oh, an equestrian setup there, huh? Equestrian ranch?
Yeah, sort of. Her mom just loves horses, so that was the extent of it. Just horses. I guess some other random animals, but we had apparently, even though we both have very rural Montana roots, those are very different experiences in Montana, as I'm told. So, or as I was told earlier, because we had a cowboy preacher, which gave a guest preacher at church this morning, and which put a sour taste in her mouth. But I was like, he's an old guy. This reminds me of the actual cowboys.
Why was it a sour taste? Or did he say something that was offensive? And
no, she just doesn't like cowboys.
Oh.
And I don't blame her. Most of them are dicks. At least most of the ones that aren't actual ranchers are, in my opinion. So,
yeah, I mean, the real ranchers I've always met have always been pretty nice fellas, but...
the real ranchers, I think we're talking about rodeo ranchers. So it's the
kids who parked in the back of the Great Falls High Lot.
Or on top of the mound if they could find one. If there was a snow mound to park on, that's where they're at.
Or if they could... sometimes we'd have kids who would turn the tires, and they'd park up on the other dude's truck.
Oh, that's...
Yeah, it was. They thought it was the coolest stuff, but you asked me, it looked a little weird there. You're mounting another dude's truck like that.
That's weird. It kind of reminds me of what's that meme of the Christian boy with the 8 chairs at church?
What?
Never mind. I'll send it. We can't.
Okay.
Shouldn't talk about memes here. We're in audio format.
Memes are Montana memes only.
That should be we could be in the forefront of Montana memes. So we moving on. We heard a little bit about Zinke. He was back in the news because of some policy shift that he was making, and specifically his fight with Western Values Project, I believe it was. Vaping in schools could be illegal. That bill is still going through the process. We'll keep you updated on that. Bullock is in Iowa and has a coalition, I think he calls it. Thinking about this presidential run.
Yeah, he surely has a chance in hell for that.
It's going to be a big field, as we discussed, and ACLU is picking up the case on the Border Patrol, which was sparked by the Spanish-speaking detainment of those women up in Havre. That was, I think, more than a year ago at this point, but the years of legislature and legality move slowly. Daines is all sorts of hardcore about the border, And something I'm disappointed about, there's no new news on Daines. I looked up to see where Daines has been. He had that 56 county tour, but there was... I cannot tell you where he's been or if he's been to any county in Montana this last week.
Where you been, Daines?
Well, that is the question. Maybe, I called out... I can't remember the name of the online publication at this point for maybe spreading some vitriol about Daines, saying he never has town halls and you can never find him, etc. But there might be some truth to that apparently, because I don't know where he's been all week.
Write this down mentally for our first Montana meme. We can do Where's Waldo, but instead of Waldo, it'll be Steve Daines.
Yeah, we should have some prize money on that, or maybe as soon as we get some sponsors. Certainly, Perry's Food Basket will be picking us up here, and we'll be giving away sodas. And actually, we can't give away lottery tickets. You can't give away a lottery as a part of a lottery. I assume. I don't know the legality on that, but they sell a lot of lottery tickets. I imagine they would know.
Probably. They're still open, anyway, so they're doing something right.
Yeah, that's our callback to our old local shout out, which we'll do a new one, and again for them as well, which I'll be visiting them soon. But talk about Daines and breastfeeding, youth rehabilitation, and update to who's overseeing that, and the Sydney coal plant closing by 2020. That's next year, so we've got 7 more months there, 9. I can math here, so.
Oh, geez. Time is ticking down. Strip the copper out of the walls, everyone.
Yep, and butcher the bull, as they say. So, feel bad for people living in Sydney. It's going to be some tough times ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. Sydney's still got the oil industry, though, too, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do. But certainly, any big infrastructure shutting down there is, has an effect on them.
Indeed. It's going to be a pain. So, anyways, on to new news.
Yep, new news. I guess, what's this about sand in Lewis and Clark County?
Yeah, I was pretty blown away by this. It seems that Lewis and Clark County is voted to not set aside funding for sand for flood preparation for its residents. So, instead, residents are being told that they need to instead buy their own sandbags and sand, which oh man. If they got half as much snow as we did here, I would be picking up a lot of sand in sandbags right now if I could, Yeah,
and isn't that a region that floods just about yearly?
Pretty much. It's right there in that valley, so I believe it does quite often.
Well, I did the math on this. We picked this up from ABC Fox Montana, who was reporting it on a newspaper, who I'm not even going to mention, because if you go to the link for the newspaper, you get, not a paywall, but they start asking you questions. You don't want to answer questions. That's ridiculous. Well, I think that the next step is probably a paywall if I go to their webpage a whole lot. You know how it works. So, followed that, and they figured out... they say they distributed 173 tons of sandbags. I did the math on that because they also say it costs $1 per bag, and also at 60 pounds is sort of the standard weight of a sandbag, whether it's Quikrete or any other brand. And the entire sandbagging program, because they said it would cost labor, personnel, supplies, the actual sand, of course, was $5,766. And these are the numbers they are reporting. And that seems... not a whole lot of money for them to get, undo this service for.
I feel like someone's getting a kickback on some flood insurance claims in order to make this thing a thing in the first place. It feels that way. Maybe it's not. Optics kind of look that way, though. Just saying.
It's not even the right kickback. I mean, can we get a kickback? Can Quikrete put a plant up in there? Would they then be okay with sandbags? But... $1 per sandbag is a pretty good rate.
I thought so. I figured it'd be like $5 in today's market.
Well, $5, a little over $5 is what you can buy those same the Quikrete sandbags at the Home Depot. I'm not even sure if they have a Home Depot nearby. Where do these guys have to go to get their sand if they're not getting it from the county?
I think they have a Lowe's there.
Yeah, Lowe's probably has Quikrete as well. And fun fact, in a previous life, I worked quality control at Quikrete Billings, right by the sugar beet plant over there.
Oh, how was that job?
Well, it was tough and very dirty. Almost died there because of I'm vain, and it was about the time when I don't know if you remember the first Razor flip phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it flipped up. It was the hotness at that point in time. So, well, a good 200 feet up on this tower, and not a tower, it's like a lime silo, I think it was, and there's 3 stages of it. The top one where the filters are being the thinnest. And I'm trying to be super cool, and I don't even remember the girl's name, but I was trying to impress her by sending her a selfie on top of this thing, like, look how BA I am, essentially. But, the first Razor only had a rear-facing camera, so you had to turn it around and try to press the button on it, and I'm hanging on this ladder, and, not even thinking about it, like, I'm left-handed, and I'm trying to take a picture with my right hand, and I'm just not quite getting it. So, without thinking about it, I hand off the phone to my other hand.
Oh, my.
Oh, and I got lucky, I got lucky. I didn't fall to the bottom. I did fall 25, 30 foot and landed on my back on a pigeon wire, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Pigeon wire that...
Yeah.
It'll
save you, but it will not be comfortable.
It was not comfortable one bit. I had to go in for... I didn't break any bones or just some very bad bruising. And, of course, get the mandatory drug test to what in the world was going on up there. So...
Yeah, that's usually the first thing that they do on that kind of stuff, too, is, oh, are you all right? Well, great. All right, now go in the back and pee in this, Or depending on
for a reason.
Depending on where you're at, it'll be, oh, are you okay? Oh, thank God. Now, give us some hair, and...
Or depending on where you're at, like, I have no idea why that guy was up there. We fired him a week ago.
Yeah, that's... Now we're going to have to fire him. Just submit the paperwork and we'll get you hired back up again in a month.
Yep, but $5,700 is not a lot of money. I'm not sure what led them to this decision. It certainly seems like a good process. They suggest that homeowners buy their own sandbags. However, this, although I'm all for taxation as theft and limited government, but this seems like one of the exact functions you want your government to do. Which is provide some assurance, because certainly there's some old people there that can't lift a 60-pound sandbag and store it in his garage for 6 months.
You're right. If there's one thing I want the government to do as far as socialism goes and all of that, it's stick their neck out for less than $6,000 to ensure that everybody has sand available to stop flooding out their houses. Because then if they flood their houses, like, what's the point of them even staying in the town, Who wants to stay in a house that's going to put them up to something so susceptible like, flooding like that?
No one. They're just looking to dry it up, I guess. So, well, we'll move on to our next matter here. Bullock was out of state again. I think I alluded to that earlier, where there was... he made a committee or exploratory committee. So he's hired staffers, and he's gone on a 6th trip to Iowa, which, not Montana, so that's interesting.
Yeah, Iowa's pretty far. I didn't know he was a big Slipknot fan. It's strange for him to be going to a place like that.
Are they? Is Slipknot from Iowa?
They are. That's...
Oh, I had no idea.
That's part of their niche, I guess, is their depressive roots there in Iowa, a state with not a lot going on.
Well, apparently they're pretty popular every 4 years.
Yeah, well, they do have a lot of people that live there until they're not living, because they're depressed because they're living in Iowa, But... he's going up against how many other people right now? Like, every other famous Democrat is running. Bernie's running again, for gosh sakes. He's not going to have a chance in hell. Even though I said earlier he would have a chance in hell, he's not going to have a chance in hell at this. It's not going to happen.
Well, there's not a Hillary. not the ringer for Hillary, pretty much. So he, which by the way, they're all about. They're still about it. And I thought I gave the far right, or we gave, as a country, the far right something to move on. But they're still beating the Hillary horse somehow. They've got AOC now, so they should probably focus on that. And you just keep on hitting that. And Hillary hasn't done anything other than try to sell books for the past 3 years. So
have they started saying that she's like Bill's kid or something? I'm sure that'll come up here before too long.
I have yet to listen to the Alex Jones on Joe Rogan podcast. I've yet to listen to the whole thing.
I listened to some of it. It gets pretty bizarre. I don't think our podcast will ever get that entertaining. But
Alex Jones being bizarre, that's it's.
I listened to it like right when this other guy, Eddie Bravo, walks in, who's also really big into conspiracies and flat Earth stuff. And
was Alex Jones a flat earther too?
I don't believe he's a flat earther, but from what you've seen from his show, like he pushes a lot of stuff that makes him money. So,
you need the male virility,
even if he,
supplement.
Exactly. So if he doesn't necessarily believe it, like he'll still have people on the show that talk about it. And Bravo's one of those types of guys. So, anyways, Bravo walks in, and the second Eddie Bravo walks in, Joe Rogan changes into like a total alpha male. It's crazy. Like he just turns it up to 11, and he wants to like you know how like some kids would do the choking game when they were in school and stupid, and you would like choke out your friend until they would pass out because it would like give them a high.
I never played that game.
Me either.
Yeah, I mean,
no, yeah. Apparently, it was a thing for what I assume to be alpha males, and
alpha males.
Carrying
8 chairs.
It's loaded with clips on YouTube right now. That interview, it's some insane stuff, but they get pretty wild on the conspiracies overall.
Well, I would imagine so. So he just gets he starts doing real questioning, being angry as soon as who's this other guy that comes in?
Eddie Bravo.
Eddie Bravo. I have not heard of him before, so
he's a big conspiracy theorist guy, but on top of that, he also does a lot of MMA stuff. I think he's got like his own MMA gym somewhere down in Texas. So he's
perfectly in line with Joe Rogan. Sounds
exactly. He's very well known within that group, but outside of those two communities, not a lot of people really know who he is or care. But
I'm not in either of those communities, so I'm not in the know.
Well, that. Still, anyone listening to this, shouldn't stop you from listening to that podcast episode because it was pretty intense and pretty amazing.
Well, I've been meaning to. It's on my listening for this coming up week, and I don't want to say I was an Alex Jones fan, but before Alex Jones got really crazy with, he's always been really crazy. He was on my favorite, a frequent guest on, was it Coast to Coast with Art Bell?
Oh yeah.
And then back when it was straight conspiracies, and you were talking about gay frogs and whatever. But of course, Art Bell, and to a lesser extent George Norrie, because he's got a different narrative that I think he's selling. For years, first of all, didn't even screen calls. Anybody who would call would get on the air, which is national shows. You can imagine the crazies you get there, and Alex Jones was one of them and one of their frequent guests. So back when he was strictly conspiracies.
Yeah, they go into that in fact because of course there's a lot of that pending litigation stuff right now because of the Sandy Hook stuff that he got in trouble about. But Alex and Joe point out that he didn't become like the conservative conspiracy theorist until just recently with all this stuff. Like before that, he was the one who was, out there calling out Bush for all of the crazy, weird secret gatherings that they do and all that stuff,
Secret gatherings was
I forget what it was
Bush
called.
In some sort of secret organization.
Yeah, something where they
not so secret.
Get together in the woods and set a bunch of pylons on fire and
do chants with cloaks or
chant a bunch of hocus pocus stuff and then masturbate on a prostitute and go back to their respective, high-ranking communities.
Uh, is this the Masons? Was Bush a Mason?
I
Or do I have to?
I
don't know.
Really, Jim, it's all a matter of who you ask on this, because some people will connect it to the Masons. Other people will say, nah, the Masons are good, and they're not. Yeah, they're the ones fighting the good fight here. But it's really, when it comes to conspiracies, it's just a matter of the person you're talking to and how deep into it they are.
I know a few conspiracy people, and some of them have some things to say about the Masons. So, but on the flip side, it's hard to deny that there are not good people in the Masons, and that Masons do some good things. Lest I get myself killed, we'll probably leave it at that.
Yeah, they, kids love the circus. Whatever.
Yeah, those and not dying at free hospitals, which, by the way, would not be needed if there was universal health care in this country. So,
well, I think the idea is still there because there's free hospitals, right?
Free hospitals, but somebody's paying for it, and it's not the government, and it's not a right.
Indeed, but they're doing it. They're trying to be trendsetters, is what they're doing, I think.
Or try to be, or I wonder what their stance on, Sanders' plan for universal health care and Medicare for all is. Maybe they're jealous; they don't want it because
that in mind,
they won't have a hospital.
I don't ever recall actually paying to get into the Shriner Circus as a kid. It was always like bring a can of food and you could get in for free.
Yeah, that's true, but
that sounds pretty socially, doesn't it?
That does sound pretty socialist, but I don't think them as a whole have any official political affiliations.
No, yeah,
I don't think.
Okay, if we want to,
all the Masons I know are super conservative, though, but that just could be confirmation bias. Who knows?
Okay.
So,
well, maybe they just need some crazy leftist to just come in and throw down an application and be like, "Let me in, let me in." Eric Andre there.
Wasn't
Montana
Clinton also in?
Clinton a Mason? Probably.
Yeah, I thought it was all the presidents.
I'm pretty certain Clinton, and Hillary probably is too.
Well, it's fraternal, so women are in by association, I guess.
Okay, well,
I don't understand it mostly because I'm not a Mason, but all right. Let's get slightly back on track here. I guess the big question is, what secret organizations is Bullock a part of in this case?
Yeah, no, it sounds like he is trying to get involved with some. I wonder if he's going to hang out in the parking lot at some of these places. See if we can get it a pass. Get inside.
Get a pass. You got to get the right shoe taps in the bathroom for that. So, back to Montana and specifically Whitefish. I don't know if you remember the Murder Junkies.
No.
G.G. Allen's last backing band.
Oh, my.
But surprisingly, and I just recently found out that they were still a thing. I thought they would have all overdosed by now. But they are still a thing, and they are going to be performing in Whitefish coming up in May.
This is pretty wild. For those of you who don't know, G.G. Allen, holy shit, I don't even know if we can really even talk about him he would do everything crazy on stage for his theatrical performance during a show, including defecating on the crowd. He would cut himself open. He would fight people. He would run out into the street and continue this stuff. He would do drugs. He would pretty much everything except for sing the songs. It felt like, And
have you heard him sing? 'Cause you can see why he's not the best singer and not the best musician in my opinion.
Indeed, and the whole
very punk
and
for sure.
Exactly, well, that's the whole idea. Is what's more punk than not doing what you're supposed to? So these guys, arguably slightly less punk because they continued playing their instruments consistently throughout the entire show, but also very commendable for doing that indeed thing while he was up there flinging around his blood and feces. So, if anything, you got a group of 4 guys who can play under enduring conditions.
Yeah, enduring, I would call it exactly that. But with Alan, of course, and the band that backed him, and they are, of course, just riding on the coattails of his death, because I think there's little doubt that if he had not died, that we would not know that name today at all. It would be, a cliff note and some obscure fact that some weird kid tells you. So, yeah, if he hadn't died, similar to Kurt Cobain, I mean, if he had, not killed himself, and effectively G.G. Allen did as well, they would be just as relevant today as, I don't know, maybe Soundgarden or Pearl Jam. In his words, it's better to burn out than fade away, so...
Yeah.
So, this band is and I've listened to some of their stuff. They're a C-punk band at best, in my opinion, and they're riding on the coattails of their former affiliations. So, which is not that good. In a small dive in Whitefish, they're going to be playing in. But sort of the conversation here, Whitefish, is it just a place for racist, or just the modern iteration of trust fund deadheads? It kind of feels like both going on in that region.
Yeah. Well, you hear a lot about the racist stuff, but I have not actually seen much as far as those movements go there, but I've not spent much time in the area, to be completely honest with you. So, how much time have you spent up there?
Just going through, eating, doing work, so not a whole lot. But, of course, a very affluent area. You have you're very wealthy, you're very 8 out-of-staters. I think, was it Daines or Gianforte that was from Whitefish?
I think it is either Gianforte. No, Gianforte is from Bozeman, so it must be Zinke.
Well, he went to Zinke, yes. Zinke is definitely... he's from Whitefish, I think. So, yeah, the very affluent, and, then it just deteriorates. Of course, you've got room for racist, which if you ask a Whitefish person, they're like, well, the community at large is standing up against that. And I was like, well, that's great, but, I'm from Missoula, and I've lived in other places in Montana, and there's, never really been a need to organize to stand up against Nazis anywhere else that I've seen. So
how come you guys let the problem get this bad?
So I can't crap on Whitefish too much. It is a beautiful place. Just I think north of Kalispell.
Yeah,
is it north or?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta make a good point. They can't control who moves there, but they should be able to. Why can't we control? If we had a border around the state, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, we need some sort of barrier for sure, especially around the north. Keep those Canadians out.
Indeed. But, that's the really the unsung problem here,
But Whitefish, unaddressed, you can drive to Whitefish from Kalispell without ever feeling like you left town, so it's a suburb, maybe.
Yeah.
At this point.
Super close, everyone, and yeah, you've got enough private houses along the way that there's just been enough development that's kicked up that it really doesn't even feel like you've left. And then boom, you're all of a sudden on Main Street there.
Yeah, so Murder Junkies in Whitefish, and looking back at some of the other events they have, it seems like that area in Pacific, and actually more so Whitefish, attracts these elements. It's sort of the place for the obscure quotation marks art of the region, I've found. So yeah, maybe the Deadhead things has some relevance here.
Wow, yeah, the rich hippies, I guess. It's expensive living up in those parts.
That it is. Well, on to more pressing matters of Momo, or lack thereof.
Jeez.
Because Lewistown did put... got to tell this in Montana. Lewistown Public Schools sent out an alert about it, telling parents to be on the lookout and whatnot. And, if you're, small kids that are of the age to be influenced by these things are on apps such as WhatsApp, which I thought was a sexting app because I've never used it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I thought it was used for too. So I was going to say, if your kid has WhatsApp or Kik on their phone to begin with, you have got red flags already that need to be looked into here, and YouTube videos about slitting your wrists open are really the least of your concerns at this point.
Yep, and I guess those videos are what makes them, I guess, supposedly the big scare is that they are spliced right into the middle of other videos, completely unrelated. But nobody has yet to show me one or have a link to one or have evidence of that. And also, YouTube themselves says, why aren't people flagging this if they're finding it? Because YouTube, they didn't say they didn't find any in their search and such, but they said, nobody's flagged anything, basically. So we can't do much. But, so I'm thinking it's really blown. It's the new thing to make your parents all afraid. You watch the 10 o'clock news and they hype up that fear pretty hardcore for that, for people that don't know. But if your kids have Kick, I mean, I am, not hip or down with the young kids. Hello, fellow youth or whatever. But I've heard of, Kick in WhatsApp, where I guess this is happening a bit, and I figured that nothing good happens there.
It's like equal to Tinder there. You add it if you want to fuck. So if your child has it on there, you're trying to fuck. So red flag that and intervene and parent.
So calm down your momos. That's not a thing, but certainly it is worth being aware of what your children are doing. And it's not even a modern thing. You could saying that at any time in history. It's important to know where your kids are.
Yeah, for sure. In today's age, I think it's just something we've gone over before is, how we're a lot more, I guess, just restrictive with our parenting compared to what we used to have back in the early 90s and such.
Yeah, absolutely. But apparently some people still go by these standards, the old standards. Like, we were visiting some friends of ours. They live in a trailer park, and she calls it a gated community, which is hilarious if you ask.
Yeah, this is... well, I mean, I guess, but okay.
But it was just a surprise to me. She's like, the kids were playing in the yard. I was like, can we go... Basically, they asked if they can go run around the trailer park, and she's like, yeah, go do it. I'm like, well, that's odd. We've never done that. Let our kids run around a neighborhood ourselves. They're still pretty young, but it's...
Yeah, no,
apparently people are still doing that.
Highly doubt my kids will ever be able to do that. They're not even... honestly, I don't even let my kids really go outside unless I'm going to go out there with them, so... Go run around the trailer park. That just blows me away.
Yeah, but it occurs to me that's maybe not a trailer park specifically, but that's what me and you did as kids. So
yeah,
times have changed, and you don't want your kids to be less eaten nowadays.
Yeah, well, people have developed more of a taste for kids, it seems, lately. So it's not a risk I feel like taking. So
some people in specific, of course, but that does tie that back into Montana, unfortunately. Well, there's no good segue from that, is there? Let's just pay attention to your kids. Let's dive right into weed.
Yeah, straight up here. Next topic here, 420 Blaze It. Weed. Probation. I'm sorry, man. Can I just have my stuff back?
Yeah, that probationers for medical excuses. It is listed there that there has to be a medical reason, but we're still pretty restrictive on this, as far as I knew. Or are we? I'm not sure what the there's a doctor's thing you got to go through in a statewide process. You got to pay a fee, and how hard is it to get your medical marijuana license, even if you're not on probation?
Well, you go see person who's got a doctorate and who is licensed with a board. This person is not going to be an employee of Benefis or the Great Falls Clinic, or I'm not even sure who you guys have over there, the Missoula Hospital, What's yours called?
I think it's the St. Vincent. Yeah, it's St. Vincent's. We also got community medical.
Yeah, so it's not. It won't be any of them. Well, I don't know. The Missoula ones maybe you guys are a bit more lenient over there and free spirited, but
we are. I'll just be randomly walking. Like we'll go walk through the neighborhood, and I'm like, is that weed? And I'm like, yeah, it is. Just there's the smell of weed with no clear origin.
Just someone smoking it somewhere near you.
Yeah, I guess that's I could never find him. I always, look around a little bit. I was like, "Where are you, damn stoner kids?"
Oh, someone's got it. You almost have to look just to see who's about to get in trouble there.
Well, not in Missoula. I understand they're somewhat lenient on it here. So
I can imagine. Well, they got a lot of bigger issues to deal with there, bigger fish to fry and such.
Well, you could say that was the case as well. The time for weed is coming, and of course. Once again, I'm not a libertarian, even though I joke about taxation being theft, but I think all drugs should be legalized, and not because I believe in drugs or use drugs, which I don't. I think it's a bad idea. Nobody should use illicit drugs, but I think weed itself falls into another category, and I don't believe the federal government has the right to tell me what I can do to myself.
Indeed, they have no play in this. It's killing people, it's taking lives, and ruining lives. So, yeah, they gotta
but it's people's personal choice. It's not for them to decide.
Indeed. So, basically. Probation, I don't think you should even be getting UA'd for this kind of nonsense. At least weed, in that matter. So.
Yeah, and of course, I think we've discussed it before, how the probation system just swings wildly, and every person's experience within probation is just crazily different. There are people that are super strict and get UA'd twice a week for seemingly nonviolent crimes that not related to weed or anything, and there are other people that just get to run around and are unheard of for like months at a time. So it's wildly different, and it doesn't appear to have anything to do with the convict or whatever. It's just pulling a straw out of a hat, I guess.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing there. It's a system that needs to be changed, so I am in favor of this bill. I hope it passes.
Well, we'll be keeping you updated on that, as time goes by. Hopefully it doesn't get tabled or denied or whatnot. But for, I guess, our last topic here, we'll run into crypto coal, because Colstrip, we discussed on the last episode about Northwestern Energy possibly buying Colstrip. Now Colstrip is further in the air because now there's this cryptocurrency company that has interest in them. Talk about dirty bitcoins. My goodness.
That's insane. Like these are places that, I've been watching. I think it was Vice had a documentary about them, or not a documentary, but at least just a small segment piece. But it was going into how these crypto mines set up shop and, will just take up space in these data centers and kick up the cost on energy prices in the area. And then when there is a decline in Bitcoin or any kind of crypto exchange like that of any sort, like sometimes if they need to close up shop, they will just shut down and it's game out, So to think that a company that is involved with that is going to invest in something is, permanent as a coal plant, like that's a little concerning, you'd think.
Well, you mean Colstrip's on the verge of just shutting down anyway, or possibly not. Like, so they're really, really up in the air. So I'm not sure if their future gets that much different than, if Northwestern Energy owned them and then couldn't find any customers for their 107 megawatts. And
well, if this is a crypto place buying it, chances are they're going to be buying it to build out a crypto farm directly next to it, I would think.
Well, that would be brilliant. And then, they own the means of production at that point. So they're...
Yeah, and at that point, it's just a matter of, we'll mine what we can out of the fucking ground here and turn it into cash.
Yep.
That's a crazy direct turnaround there,
That is, and how I don't know how long this will last. Company's called Bighorn Data Power Holdings LLC. It's not a registered corporation in Montana, but I guess neither is. No, Northwestern Energy is the actual fully Montana company, not the region company, right? We had a whole episode on power here, so I'm trying to draw back from that.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. These people also don't have like a .com. This is strange.
Yeah, it's similar to Zinke's, cryptocurrency experience.
Whatever it is, ARMS something. They say they're cryptos, but they're really look a lot like they're dealing in arms.
Very likely. Lord of War. Great movie starring Nicolas Cage. One of his, I think, better pieces. So,
yeah.
Zinke is the new guy for that.
He kind of has that look. Maybe we'll see a Zinke biopic done.
Played by Nicolas Cage.
Exactly.
In the style that he did, what was that last really creepy movie he had? Like Amy or something?
Oh, I forget.
It's hard to keep track of all of his movies.
I'm really far behind on my Cage. I gotta catch up.
I don't think you can. He's 10 movies a year.
Yeah, well, he, good or bad, he'll say yes if he's got time for it.
Likes to spend that piece. Well, I guess we'll keep you updated on Crypto Coal as well, whether it goes to... sounds like they are buying it for more than $1, which it was going to be sold to Northwestern Energy for, which is interesting. There's an undisclosed sales figure. So we'll keep you updated on that, and with that, we'll run through our business here, and then put this episode 22 in the bag.
Indeed. Probably already checking this out at our website, but that is going to be MontanaVoicesPodcast.com. If you'd like to reach out to us for questions, comments, or concerns, or to be on the show even, our email address is going to be MontanaVoices@gmail.com. If you'd like to hit us up on Twitter, our handle is @Montana_Voices. If you want to hit us up on Facebook, our handle is going to be @MontanaVoicesPodcast. Our Twitch stream, we'll probably be going live on that. I want to say next week. I want to probably put something together. I don't know what game we're going to play. I'm thinking maybe some Civ. Well, Civ 6. Do some
good
of that.
choice.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's going to be twitch.tv/Montana Voices. And then you can catch all of our episodes up on YouTube by searching for Montana Voices Podcast. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you again here next week.